If you had any advice to give people who want to start companies, do you think it'd be a passion-based or just find an opportunity and go for it?
And I think a lot of it too is there's a lot of passion, but then goes back to just, well, what's the real why behind it?
Why do certain brands charge you $3,000 a suit? Like, what is the difference between all these things? What makes a suit more valuable than others?
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Welcome to Inside the Hive with Kyle and Brandon. Join us as we explore business, real estate, current events, and personal growth. We dive into the latest trends, offer valuable insight, and share stories. Thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to Inside the Hive. Today, we've got Matt Scored with us. He's the founder of the Grotto, a custom menswear brand that's grown from his garage to multiple locations. I'm jealous. He's a marathon runner, husband, and a father. We can't wait to dive into this journey.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited.
I appreciate it. I got to know a little bit about you from your bio you sent over. Brandon, you gone back a little bit away, so I had to catch up. But yeah, and then you went to SDSU, and then USC is what I.
Yeah. So most of my college decisions were based around where the waves were. I grew up as a surfer.
Oh, you're a surfer.
So nice. I was literally, debating where to go to school, and I was looking even in Hawaii at some point, but decided at San Diego State. In-state tuition's a lot cheaper.
It's a cool school, man.
They had a good international business program. I kind of grew up traveling, and so that was always attractive to me. So the international component of business was always appealing. So they had a good program there. So landed at San Diego State University. And then they were offering a new dual degree program with the University of Chile. So I did 4 years at San Diego State, and then 1 year at the University of Chile. Got a degree from that university as well, and got to surf a ton while I was living in Chile.
That is a very cool time period in your life, man. That sounds awesome. I'm jealous. Yeah,
it definitely was. I thought I was done and I had to grow up, and then I moved back to the peninsula, Newport Beach, and it was like...
There's not a lot of
There's not like 2.0, college 2.0.
So,
yeah, good surf spot, but it was kind of like Never Land.
Not a lot of growing up, dude.
Had a blast there, and that's kind of where I started off my career actually in finance.
Was it PIMCO, right?
So I started off at Capital Group. Okay. The company was American Fund, so Capital Group is the parent company.
Yeah.
On the advisor marketing, shareholder services side of the business, learned a lot about mutual funds and equity. And that side of the business. And then that was right around 2008 when the recession hit, the stock markets crashed. Okay. Bonds started doing really well because interest rates were dropping. So I ended up actually going over to PIMCO, and I was at PIMCO, and I worked in this fund stats side of the business. And then that kind of evolved into more of the alternative investments. They had some really cool private equity and hedge fund products that I worked on. So learned a lot there. And
I can imagine, man. Big company. I mean, pretty well known.
Yeah, and a lot of high performers. So I was kind of like always being pushed to that next level. And one of the things that they kind of force you into, honestly, is either going MBA or CFA route. I went CFA originally. I took my level 1, and I was like, all right, I do not want to do this. I do not want to pigeonhole myself. I always wanted to kind of, when I was kind of transitioning into PIMCO, I was like, I don't know if investment management is something I want to do long term. So I always kind of had that itch to kind of do my own thing.
Okay.
And I didn't want to pigeonhole myself with the CFA because that's a very specialized. So I went the MBA route while I was at PIMCO. So I did
MBA USC.
MBA USC.
And that's a powerhouse right there. I had some friends that did that. They came out swinging, man.
Yeah,
it was like
and that was a great university, great faculty, great business program, entrepreneur program, which, now that I'm went down the entrepreneurial route, it's kind of funny because you can't teach a lot of these things. No. But you get introduced to the right people and you get inspired. I think that was the biggest takeaway. I'm a part of an entrepreneurs organization, and that's where I actually first came into contact with that organization. Was one of the professors brought in, Michael Cato from Restaurants on the Run at the time, and
just
blew me away with his story.
Were you working at PIMCO at this time too?
I was. So that one was probably, I went through a range where I was working full time at pretty much an investment bank type of culture. So working in early, and then just jumping on the 405.
It's competitive, isn't it?
It's super competitive. It's very results driven. They rack and stack. That's the performance reviews. But yeah, having to drive in rush hour on the 405 after working all day at PIMCO to get to class, and then you're at class till 9, and then you're like, all right, there won't be any traffic on the way home. But as you know, the 405 loves to do construction, so you get diverted off into Seal Beach somewhere.
My gosh,
so yeah, just that was a grind, and that was a 3-year, because it was a part-time MBA while I was full-time at PIMCO.
You were grinding like that for 3 years?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
That's
that was,
awesome,
and then
yeah.
not only that, it was right around the time where I was getting married and getting a house, and it was a big
Busy time.
big busy part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, busy time. So 8 years at in finance, and then was there an overlap because your company, the Grotto?
Yeah.
So was that a clean break, or did you kind of feather into that, or how did you get this idea? How did you get the idea to start a menswear company?
Yeah. So I'll start with the idea, and then I'll go into kind of how we got started.
Yeah.
But the idea. So again, I always was looking for opportunities. I was always just wanted to start something, didn't know how, didn't know where to start. And it was right around the time in my life where all of my friends were getting married. I was kind of in that group of 10 close friends that are all just getting married. So I was in all these weddings, and there was just this pain point constantly around men shopping for suits for the occasion of a wedding. So the options were going to an online rental type of a place, going to a mall and trying to haggle at Macy's. And, a lot of the people in the wedding party, they're not all the same size. Some are tall, some are short, some are big. So some of the off-the-rack options would fit them perfectly. Others you'd have to tailor, and it was just always a headache. And then I would look at what the brides were doing with the bridesmaids, and they were having just a blast. They were going and getting catered to. There was, confetti popping. There was champagne being poured. And it was just an awesome experience. They'd make a day out of it, and they would celebrate the occasion, whereas the guys would laugh because, the left shoe showed up from the rental place at a different size than the right shoe, or, the tux didn't fit. So it would become like kind of a butt end of a joke. So it kind of just hit me after getting married myself that there needed to be an experience for the groom when suit shopping for weddings. So the company actually launched as Groom's Grotto, very much focused in on the experience. The suit quality needed to be there. It needed to be at an attractive price point, but the experience is really what we were aiming for. So that's essentially
cool.
where the idea kind of came from. And then how I went about doing that, once I had the idea, I just gotten married, just got a house, baby was on the way, and I had to really kind of pump the brakes and say, okay, I can't do a clean break. Right after I got my MBA, I did start at Taco Bell corporate. Okay. It was a cool opportunity because it was a marketing finance role. So it kind of leveraged the finance background I already had, but then introduced me to the marketing aspect of business. And then it was also creating a business within a business, because it was the role was to help launch the new breakfast day part. So the whole breakfast platform at Taco Bell. So it was really fun. Started with a small team, reported directly to the executive team. And so that was a lot of fun. So I did that. But at the same time I started there, literally within days of accepting that job, I launched the Grotto out of my garage. And the reason why I did that as opposed to clean break was purely financial. I couldn't just walk away from a 6-figure job, real post-MBA job, and then start a company that, that had a lot of risk behind it. So it actually, it was good because I really got to spend time testing the market. I launched out of my garage, and then it forced me to build a management team right off the bat and really build a business that wasn't dependent on me, because remember, I still had to wake up and go to another job. Yeah. Now at breaks and stuff, sometimes I'd have to duck in and, put out fires and, at lunchtime and after. So I would say, when you talk about the grind wasn't just from the time I was part-time MBA, that the 3-year period. It was probably the next 7 years, because I feel like I had 2 jobs during the whole time period. It was, go to school, and then, work full time. And then right after that, it was work full time at a big boy MBA job and then start a business. That was,
that's a lot.
A lot. And again,
lot.
like baby and, dog pissing in the house. And, so definitely a busy period for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about fitting suits or anything? Were you passionate about that at all? Or this was just purely a hole in the market that you saw?
Yeah, so some people start business on passion, and for me, it was more of an opportunity. Like I said, I grew up in board shorts and wetsuits and surfing, so suiting was never really my thing. I did have to wear a suit, not really always a jacket, but pretty much a suit to work every day while at PIMCO. So I got exposed to that. But yeah, it was more just a hole and an opportunity that I thought I could really scale, and I thought was a big void in the market at the time.
I like that.
It's great. Yeah.
I like that. If you had any advice to give people who want to start companies, would you think it'd be a passion-based or just find an opportunity and go for it? That's something that's a tricky one. People ask us this all the time. Yeah. They come in, they want to start a business. And on our last podcast, Tanner was talking about come up with a business plan first, see an opportunity, then capitalize on it. And I see that theme with a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful. Yeah. It's if there's an opportunity, it's like that old economics lesson, just supply and demand. Yeah. If there's a gap in the market, capitalize on it. So.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is there's a lot of passion, but then it goes back to just what's the real why behind it, right? Yeah. And that why, in my opinion, is always going to be stronger than just I'm passionate about it. But if you could align the why with the passion, with the business opportunity, that's where you're going to be. Yeah. So I almost feel like from an advice standpoint is really pencil out. All right, why am I doing this? Is it something I'm passionate about it? And is there an opportunity? And is the timing right too, right? So I think if you could check as many of those boxes as possible, you're probably going to have the most opportunity for success.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So you went from your garage, getting it going, getting it started up. When did you finally move into some brick and mortar and take that leap? How long did it take?
Yeah, it was about 6 months.
That's quick.
Yeah, it was what accelerated it was, so we just moved into this new house in a residential neighborhood, and new neighbors, and we would have 6 cars pull up to the house, and sometimes there were affluent customers, it'd be Range Rovers and Porsches and 5 Series BMWs all parked in my driveway, and you'd look outside and the neighbors are peering through the blinds at you, and so there was that aspect is like, okay, what's this neighbor that just moved in, like what's going on over there? So there was that, and then there's also just my wife. She's like, people are having to go to use our bathroom. And at first it's referrals. So it's like a friend. So it's like, Brandon introduces you. So I still know you through Brandon. And, and then eventually it breaks away from, people that you even know.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like strangers going in your house and taking shits in your bathroom. And my wife was like, all right, it's great that, we're getting more people, but you gotta, find your own place. So that's really what accelerated it out. But I think that's, just the ability to test, because I didn't have that background, really test through manufacturers, really get that feedback from customers who were close, who weren't just going to go blow me up on Yelp if something didn't fit right the first time, was super helpful.
I'm curious. I don't want to get too in the weeds with it, but how'd you even get going, finding the fabrics, putting it together, measure? You said you didn't come from like a suited up background, but how did you even? I don't know if I know how to start, like that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it was just through travels. So when you go to Southeast Asia and China, those countries are, the labor is a lot cheaper and they're really efficient at garment production. It's something that's been in their family for generations and generations. A lot of that art has already been lost in the U.S. So even if you wanted to find that sort of work here.
In Vietnam, man. You got a bunch of suits.
Yeah, there's custom suits and dresses.
You were talking all about that, man. Like you picked up a bunch of stuff.
Well, I picked up a couple of jackets, but then I came back and got the Grotto too.
It's all right.
What, for $40? Like, how can you beat that?
But to your point, right? So the question was, how'd you get started with it? So you went to Vietnam or
Vietnam,
and
Cambodia.
how long did it take them to produce a garment for you?
2 to 3 days, probably.
Okay.
Usually the next day I would even come in for obviously it was going to be messed up, so they had to refit me or something.
Right.
But within 24 hours, I was getting refit and had to wait another day. But
okay. And how much did it cost about?
I mean, literally, I think I got a couple sport coats for $40 US.
Okay. And you said you had to get refit, like
12